There's a couple brand new Nintendo Switch stories we have to talk about today, starting with a classic game collection that will be headed to the Switch, and it is now all but confirmed for a 2022 release, so we have to go over those details. Then the big talking point for today's video has to do with Nintendo Switch Online and some brand new server maintenance that has been spotted that could indeed indicate that we can expect new games to hit the service as soon as next week, and we have to have a discussion around the history of Nintendo Switch Online so far, the improvements that have been made, and what titles we may be able to expect around the corner. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. As I mentioned, guys, we got a couple different major stories to cover today, and the first one I'm actually super hyped for as it has to do with a classic game collection that will be headed to the Switch. This is the Sonic Origins collection, and it has just been rated in the South Korean ratings board, which almost always points to an official announcement around the release date of this title, and it has actually been quite some time as this was originally unveiled back at the Sonic Presents in 2021, and we have had zero updates on it. And there is a couple of notable things that will be coming as part of this classic Sonic collection, as not only will the games be updated to run in native widescreen, but we are also getting the long-awaited return of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic and Knuckles in a modern platform, as there have been numerous licensing issues and problems as time has gone on due to the soundtrack in the game, and specifically Michael Jackson's involvement in the soundtrack, which apparently has now been resolved for this collection that will be Sonic Origins, headed to really all platforms. And so to get on the same page with what has been discovered with both the ratings board and then even later a new piece of artwork that has now been spotted on PlayStation Network, we have to quickly hop over to VGC where they have a detailed article typed up around what has been discovered here. Sonic Origins has now been rated in South Korea. Update: a new image has also reportedly been spotted on PlayStation servers. Sonic Origins has been given a rating in South Korea, indicating that it's still on track for a 2022 release. The compilation was originally announced in May 2021 during Sega's Sonic Central presentation, which also revealed Sonic Colors Ultimate and teased a next-gen Sonic game, which would later become known as Sonic Frontiers. Update: a new promotional image reportedly found on PlayStation server is also now being shared online. You can see the following tweet from Sonic Stadium where it reads, "Some new key art for Sonic Origins has been leaked via PlayStation Network." Full story about the compilation's new rating in the tweet below, and you can then see the nice artwork that does indeed have really a nice reminiscent style of all of those classic era of the 2D Sonic games, which are also my favorite. And then to continue the original story, the Korean ratings board has classified the game for all users, which is somewhat unsurprising given that it's a compilation of 16-bit Sonic games. What makes this particularly notable is that it's one of the first things anyone's heard about Sonic Origins since the original May 2021 announcement. Sonic Origins is a retro compilation which includes the following games: Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic CD, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and Sonic and Knuckles. So if you are someone like me who grew up in the SNES and Sega Genesis era of gaming, you probably are hyped for this collection, as of course the 16:9 widescreen support for these games, and just having a reason to boot them up and play them and go through each of the titles from start to finish once again is a very exciting prospect. And I have been waiting for a new news update on this game since it was unveiled last year in May, and I'm personally just very happy that it looks like we are right around the corner from this game's ultimate release. And while I have replayed Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2, and 3 and Sonic and Knuckles numerous times, Sonic CD is one that I've only played off and on and haven't actually completed the entire game from start to finish, so I'm very excited for that particular title, and just to have what I consider to be the heyday of Sonic games all together on one collection in the Nintendo Switch, with of course the long-awaited Sonic the Hedgehog 3 coming back as part of that collection. So I personally am very pumped for this game. I will definitely be picking it up day one once we get the official release announcement. I will be curious to see where they set the price point for this particular collection, as clearly these are older games, but they're also coming back in a big way with some enhancements. And does the enhancements just stop at something like widescreen support, or are they going to add in new gameplay modes, maybe online leaderboards and time trials and things like that that weren't there before, where you can kind of see your scores versus the friends online? Like, will they go out of their way to add in more content, or is this just going to be a true up one-to-one port from the original titles with some enhanced visuals and modern widescreen support? Regardless, I could see this being priced around the $40 price point very very easily on the Switch to have it a full compilation. I would be surprised if it's something like a full price $60 release. We could maybe even see it come in as low as $29.99, but I do think that that $40 price point makes a lot of sense for this compilation. So I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below if you personally have nostalgia for this era of Sonic gaming, and whether or not you're like me and you think it's really the best in the franchise history, or if you're more of a fan of recent 3D Sonic iterations where we have seen definitely some missteps over the years, but also definitely some great titles to still be enjoyed. So I want to hear from you guys on all things Sonic the Hedgehog and this classic game collection being Sonic Origins in the comments down below. Now, the other story we're talking about today once again has to do with Nintendo Switch Online, the state of the service of where it's at right now, and really overall just commending Nintendo on how frequently they've been updating the service, because if you've been around on the channel for a while, you will know that when this service originally launched, especially the expansion pack pricing portion of it, I was very concerned about the future update roadmap that Nintendo would commit to due to their lack of communication, and we've just seen them essentially drop the ball with the base tier of service as we went 6 months without seeing any kind of new games added into NES and SNES libraries. So it's like, what are your base tier subscribers getting at that point other than just cloud saves and the ability to play online? And while Nintendo still is not committing to any kind of hard roadmap for Nintendo Switch Online and the expansion pack, we are still able to comfortably expect at least one new N64 game per month to be added to the service, is definitely what they've been sticking to. And then now we are seeing them really mix things up with occasionally adding in new NES and SNES titles, as we got the Earthbound games added in at the last Direct, and then just in the end of March we got, of course, Earthworm Jim 2 added to the SNES, and then Dig Dug 2 and Mappy Land added into the NES. And while there are still some big titles missing from that library, like Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, like where is that at on the SNES, where there's definitely still some missing titles, we are also approaching a point where there's going to be some no-name games that people don't really get that hyped for. But the fact that we are seeing consistent updates to the service at all is very relieving to me as somebody who is, strapped in for the full 12-month ride, as there's only still an annual price point for the expansion pack, and I gave them the money to Nintendo upfront with really no commitment on their end to consistently update the service. And they've really fixed the major problems that I've had with the service when it originally launched, such as the input lag, lack of fog rendering in Ocarina of Time. Like, there was a lot of problems with the service, and every time they've added a new game in, we have also seen them update the core emulation apps to actually make these games run better. Now, the reason Nintendo Switch Online is in the news today is both on April 25th and April 26th, there is going to be some server maintenance taking place. And to be clear, this could absolutely be for various bug fixes and just something like an emulator update, like we talked about, if different bugs are discovered, especially things like the notorious game crashing that happened in Paper Mario, and people were actually in some cases losing their entire save file in that game if they just approached a tree and the game did a hard crash. You reboot the game and your entire save file is gone. Like, definitely we need to see them continue to fix any one-off bugs and glitches that could be considered game breaking, and so that may be all this is. However, a lot of times with maintenance schedules we do see things like new editions of games, and with us just getting NES and SNES games late last month in March, and then of course we just had Mario Golf go live on the service on Friday, April 15th. I'm not expecting 2 N64 games per month at this point in time, although I do hope that as we get through some of this library, and if there really are that heavily rumored or data mined list of 38 N64 games planned, I definitely hope we get a accelerated schedule one day and we do see that 2 games per month. I think the safe bet is that this is Sega Genesis games, as since the expansion pack has been unveiled, Sega Genesis has had the most sporadic update schedule so far, as we got a batch of 5 games in December and then a batch of 3 Sega Genesis games in the middle of March. So if you really do look at the overall history of the updates, they are becoming more frequent, not less frequent, which is what I like to see. And again, if you do buy into that data mine, we should be on track for something like over 50 Sega Genesis titles that will ultimately be added to the service as well. And I think that now makes a lot of sense to add in another batch of 3, maybe 5. Maybe we get something like monthly updates on Sega Genesis games going forward, and it is something like 2 or 3 games sporadically being added into the service. I just think that when these games, the classic games, get online play in 2022, it is a fantastic thing and a reason to go back and boot up some titles that you may or may not have nostalgia for, and you may find find a hidden gem in there along the way. And anytime you're signed in for something like an annual subscription, you just want to see more updates, and it's ultimately good news at the end of the day. Yes, I'm ready for new systems and consoles to be added into the service. Where's the Game Boy family of systems? Hopefully one day we're talking about stuff as crazy as GameCube games being added in, although I personally predict that that would not happen until anything as soon as like the next gen, whatever the next more powerful Switch is. Maybe that's when we get something like GameCube games, but you could also argue that Nintendo's going to wait even longer to release that classic library, as I think in their minds they can remake a lot of those games and resell it to us at full price, as opposed to releasing them on a classic service like this. But I am hopeful that they will ultimately bring those games to the service as it continues to grow and expand on what I would expect this to last multiple generations going forward, as I think Nintendo knows they have a big money-making opportunity here with ongoing subscription services, even though there's a lot of people who are not a fan of that traditional style service and they want to see Virtual Console brought back. I personally don't think Nintendo's going to go in that direction, and I think Nintendo Switch Online and this ongoing subscription model is here to stay, as we are seeing it in so many different various areas of gaming. But I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video what you think about the service overall so far with the continued updates we've seen from Nintendo. What kind of changes do you still think we need to see hit the service, and do you think that this maintenance does indeed indicate new games? And are you on the same page with me that these are most likely Sega Genesis titles, or do you think there's some kind of chance that we get bonus NES and SNES games already, or maybe even just something like a surprise N64 game, which I would not expect it to be that, but I do want to hear from you guys regardless of where your thoughts and opinions fall on both the stories we talked about today in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Make sure you check out the weekend video if you haven't already, where we boot up Donkey Kong Country 2 and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze together and have a broad conversation of all of the rumors and leaks that have indicated that we should be able to expect some kind of new Donkey Kong title hit the Switch maybe as soon as 2022. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.